update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys into whom you can place your trust. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, after seeing their 6-game win streak snapped in Minneapolis on Saturday, the Blazers now in Denver for their final 2 games before the All-Star break. 6 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams III, and Chris Murray are all questionable. The Blazers are 9.5-point underdogs. The Luka Doncic Lakers era expected to begin tonight in Los Angeles as they host the Jazz. 7:30 tip on ESPN and Disney+. The Lakers are 12-point favorites. On the other side of that trade, Mavericks forward center Anthony Davis will miss multiple weeks due to a left adductor strain suffered Saturday against the Rockets, and Commissioner Adam Silver announced today Hawks guard Trae Young will replace the injured Giannis Antetokounmpo in this weekend's All-Star game. Young had voiced his displeasure after initially not being named. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Meringatang is going to be a thing.
You're not coining anything new.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
I'll throw some monkey sounds in there and call it go.
The old Danny Meringue pie?
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Hey, welcome in. Happy Monday to everybody out there. Hope everybody's having a great day. Oh, look at that. Well, we had my computer, I had to mute in here. If you heard that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody heard that.
It's a lot like when
Technology.
the old days when you used to call into the radio show and have your radio up loud.
No, that's right.
Get
Turn the
feedback.
radio down. Turn
One
the
thing
radio
they always
down.
tell you is a call screener.
That's right. Turn your radio down. Speak clearly. Be concise and to the point. That's why the text machine is so great. The Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. That's why it's so great is that you could sit there and we get everybody's great takes, you know? So it's fantastic. Good for everybody out there.
Certainly one way to call everybody's takes great.
How's everybody feeling after the Super Bowl? I'm a little slow today. I'm moving a little slow today. I think I ate too much yesterday.
Oh, I mean, it's a given.
Whew. Yeah.
What
Like, it just-
what was the thing that was shining at the
Yes.
Hera party?
All of it was all really good. My man D, big Eagles fan, so happy for him. He made Philly cheesesteaks. Those were really good. Woof. We had obviously the pigs in the blanket. They were really good. My buddy Jason made incredible wings.
Ooh.
Yeah. He smoked some wings, and then these little cheesy garlic. I don't even know what they were. I don't even know. They're just like these little cheesy garlic bread balls.
Not even a knot, just a ball.
Just a ball.
Mm.
Yeah. So good. Ate way too many of those. I'm just feeling I'm dragging today. You know, there's no way around it. We're gonna play through this thing. I did stay away from the heavy beers though. You know, I stuck to the light beers.
The rivers and lakes as you used to.
Mm-hmm. Because I knew those were gonna really drag me down today. You can't mix all of the heavy food and like a bunch of IPAs. So we're okay. We're powering through. It's one of those days though that you sit there and you know you got to pre-Drano that toilet. That's how it goes. You know, you don't want
You didn't have to use the secondary bathroom.
No, not there. Yeah, thank goodness. We saved that for home. What a great day it was. That was a fun game. And then congratulations to the city of Philadelphia. There's no city that knows how to destroy itself more than Philadelphia after something good happens. You know, they greased up those light poles. I saw that you had.
They did it more in New Orleans than they did in Philadelphia.
Well, did you see that they had you had companies like downtown like that they were taking their awnings down?
Yeah, because they didn't want them ripped down.
Yes, they were like, you know what? We learned in 2016. We learned this. We learned this in 2022 because win or lose, the people of Philadelphia were going to go birds that street no matter what. They were going to be out there.
Win or lose, the Eagles still booze and destroy.
That's right. And they were proactive in it. And what a celebration that was. I saw you had people, I don't know where they get the spray paint from, but they just spray paint and go birds on just anything.
Yeah.
You know, people, cars, trucks, buildings, just go birds everywhere. I don't like the spray painting.
No.
I don't. Not a big graffiti or tagging guy. Actually, graffiti art I do like. Like art though.
Oh yeah,
graffiti art,
dope.
Good.
Tagging sucks.
No, yeah,
it's never been good.
99.9% of your tags out there, if you're listening to this, probably not a big demographic of our listenership or taggers, but it doesn't look good. Just gonna throw it out there.
Never looks good.
Doesn't look good.
Graffiti's dope.
Yeah, it is. It is
like actual talent.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's pretty
but
cool.
Drunk guy out there with his spray paint, go birds. No, not great.
I can go without that guy.
No, it was good. It was good.
What's the reaction here if the Blazers win a title? Is it Antifa style riot, or are we talking mild protest down Broadway?
No. It will be a joyous occasion. I feel like it won't be idiots destructing things because here's the thing. You have to know that a lot of the people that'll be down there celebrating a Blazers show. Like, I don't know why we're talking about this because how far away are we?
I know. Not going to happen.
But you will have your offset, right? Because I think the majority of Blazer fans are just going to be, hey, we're having a good time. What are you doing? Don't be an idiot down here. I think that's a majority of the fans. And they'll say, hey, take that to Gresham. You know, I don't know. Just like not here. Pioneer Square will be a joyous occasion. Like when the Blazers made the playoffs for the first time in years and they had a rally in Pioneer Square
for the playoffs.
For making the playoffs. You remember that? I think it'll be like that.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think if it got fully unhinged to the point of actually winning a title, this city has too many people who have masks for it to not get dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I can see
like Philadelphia has their hooligans. Portland has too many people who like to put on masks and go do dumb stuff.
Yeah, but again, I think that, we could funnel them. Funnel them.
See, I think we'd have a rather vocal minority of dudes.
Go to Jansen Beach, or whatever.
And ne'er-do-wells who would go out there and try to rip down the Broadway Bridge or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, idiots are going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on us. Funnel them. Just right into the river.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where we funnel them to. That's what the police are for, right?
Gresham.
Yes.
It's always Gresham.
Yeah.
Nobody's
This text says, if Portland wins the title, it'll be a massive cloud of pot smoke and strippers on every street corner. I'm not. I think the cloud may be right.
Yeah.
Just those vape clouds. I think there'll be a lot of that. Where would it even start? Will people be around still?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, there.
It's a full-on I Am Legend situation.
Yeah.
Deer running freely in the freeway.
Yeah, the Blazers win the title via simulation. Yeah. I think that's fair.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that may be the way that it happened.
There you go. There's your talking title parades in Portland.
Damn. I hope it's awesome. I hope it goes crazy. I don't know. My great grandkids will tell me about it.
Yeah.
You know?
You're old and deaf and blind and you don't know what's going on.
No. I've heard that promo, though. By the way that this Blazers, trends are going, we're going to have a title in 4 years.
There you go.
Like that's what happened. 70, started a team, were really bad. 3 years later, won a title. 4
go.
years of just being really bad. And then 3 years later, it's like, boom, we just need the
MVP.
Well, yeah. It does suck because we talk about this and, we haven't had a title since 77. Quite literally, the only reason why that title happened was because the ABA merged with the NBA.
Yeah. Shout out Mo Lucas.
Yeah, he was pretty valuable.
Yeah.
He was pretty valuable.
Yeah, it turns out putting that guy with an MVP is a really, really, really good
Yeah.
core to go forward with.
So I don't know who the NBA merges with now, but we need something to happen. That's why
Expansion happens.
Well-
And trade happens because the expansion draft.
Well, I was hoping that we had that rumor of that the NBA is going to start up a European league or, get with FIBA a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe that's the merger that happens. In a few years, it's like, hey, FIBA and the NBA just
And the
merge
new-
together,
the,
and it's
the
like,
new Luca comes over.
real?
The new Wonder Kid.
Yeah, there we go. There we
Okay.
go. All right. Super Bowl was great last night. Super Bowl 59. Congrats to the Philadelphia Eagles. Congrats to the people of Philadelphia. You guys deserved it.
It was a fantastic blowout.
Boy, it was.
Best, like without even talking about the game.
Yeah.
When games are blowouts,
Yeah.
it's like, oh god. But it was an enjoyable blowout.
Yeah, I mean, probably not if you're a Chiefs fan,
Who cares about them?
but everything else,
I mean,
pool boy.
like they stunted on them. It wasn't just a blowout. Like, it's like no, they got embarrassed,
Mhm.
and to the point of like the plays that were made were very high level, like just ruin your day play over and over and over again. I was quite joyous.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
it was
For not having a dog in the fight, I enjoyed it.
me too.
Yeah.
Except for right when the game started, I found myself going, "Oh, what is this?"
Mm.
Fox needs to learn you
Oh
cannot
my God.
roll out a new score bug on the bottom and expect us all to be like, yeah, this is going to be normal. No.
Well, doesn't every network do that? Like around the last big game of the year?
Yeah, stop.
Yeah.
I've been trained. You have
All
beat
season
it
long.
into my brain from the preseason where I'm like, okay, we got new graphics coming out. I get trained for that.
Mhm.
My eyes get used to it. And then all of a sudden I get that?
Also, dropping that abomination.
What?
Ugh.
No, don't.
Look, I'm okay with like changing a score bug, but it's
Mm-mm.
the whole like minimalist thing, and not just this, but everything. Like everything being so minimalist designed. It's like, God, do we really have? ESPN had the same score bug for every sport basically for 25 years,
Top right corner.
and it was flawless.
Mhm. Mhm.
Flawless.
It didn't intrude on anything. Like there was never any action up in that corner.
Nope.
You were okay with it just being there, living there. And then now it's just all at the bottom of our screen.
I don't understand that.
I don't either.
People people want to have the information, not look away. Like I'm never looking at the scoreboard, the ticker, unless there's a stoppage in play.
But here's why you can't do that during a big game like the Super Bowl is you can't do that to me because I get used to like watch a play. Okay, where's the little yellow icon for a flag, right?
Mm.
You can't throw a wrench like that. I've become trained to look in certain spots.
Mm.
And I know exactly where I need to look. Now you just change that on me? I can't have that. I can't. We need to start a petition.
I don't like it.
No, that
was-
was bad.
Again,
Other than that, great game.
it was a graphic design is my
Mhm.
passion score bug,
yeah.
and it sucked.
This text on the Vancouver Ford text line coming in, and it's a very. I had the same feeling too because I was watching it with, a bunch of friends, and we all kind of looked at each other and said, "This kind of feels a little bit like the Rose Bowl did, right?"
Yeah.
How it just got out of
Like,
hand
whoa.
really quickly, and you were like, "This isn't normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal."
Especially for that team.
Yeah, and you went, boy, that unraveled very quickly for the Kansas City
Mhm.
Chiefs. I think it might have something to do with Travis Kelce's haircut.
Mm.
He looked like did you see his walk-in outfit?
No.
Oh my
I
gosh.
saw Mahomes's, which was ugh.
He looked like a 70s porn star
Mm.
walking into that Caesars Superdome. I always want to call it the Little Caesar Superdome. I know it's not that.
Pizza.
No,
That's
no,
Detroit.
it's not. This is gambling.
Yeah. No, Detroit's Little Caesars.
Yeah, the Caesars Superdome.
Mm.
He was walking in. It was like a red, like leisure suit. He had a big collared shirt with like 4 buttons undone. Walking in, and I was like, his hair was parted down the middle, and he was wearing like brown tinted sunglasses. I was like, That dude just jumped right out of a 70s. Uh-huh. Or like Shaft.
Okay.
Like something like that. Like I knew they were going to lose.
Are you saying he wasn't one bad mother?
Mm.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah. See, new graphics for a predominantly drunk crowd is just evil. Yeah, that's a great
that's
text.
another thing.
See, that's a big one.
That's the worst time to try to sneak it in.
Yeah. Let's not do this. If you're going to give me a mid-season graphic change, do what they do around the holidays. Snow. You just had, when they have like snow accumulating on top of the graphics as the quarters winding down. That's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Just a little
Anything.
just a little chutzpah. Nothing else.
Don't give me a full-on change. We don't need that. All right, let's dive into this game, because what a game it was. The Philadelphia Eagles dismantle the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. It was Super Bowl licks, and boy, KC got a licking, 40-22. Where it went wrong and where it went right for the Philadelphia Eagles. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
It's over. The Philadelphia Eagles have won Super Bowl 59. They have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22. It's their second Super Bowl win in 7 years. What a game. What a season. What a team. The greatest Eagles team in modern history. Eagles fans, savor it and rejoice.
There's the final call on our sister station WIP in Philadelphia as the Eagles dismantle the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22 in Super Bowl 59, building up a 34-0 lead before the Chiefs got on the board. It was sheer dominance by the
Yikes,
Eagles.
dog. It got to the point where I genuinely started to wonder, has anybody ever been shut out in a Super Bowl? And I got up and Googled, and it was no, and I was like, ooh. So you knew they were going to try to find a way to scratch something across just to save some sort of face.
And they ended up saving some sort of face, the Chiefs did. But at the end of the day, when you look at the box score, when people go back and they parse through this Super Bowl in Patrick Mahomes' career, they'll be like, oh, he threw for 257. Bah, was not that. It was, I don't know if I have seen a team come out in a Super Bowl and impose their will as quickly as the Philadelphia Eagles did. Because even on that opening drive where the A.J. Brown offensive pass interference is called,
Good God.
and that didn't help the conspiracy theorists at all on that opening drive. But even on that drive, you were like, oh no, Jalen Hurts is feeling it today. He's playing different. And at that point I said, oh man, this could get squirrely. This could get sideways. It wasn't until that interception, the first interception, where you were like, because that would be, it was 3 drives in for Kansas City, and they were moving nowhere.
No, they had nothing.
And then Cooper DeJean goes pick 6, and you're just like, this thing is 17-0, and one of the exciting whites just went pick 6.
I mean, look, I want to give Cooper DeJean a lot of credit for being an absolute dude.
Yeah.
When he has the ball in his hands, he's electric, man.
Yeah,
like
he is.
he is a legitimate.
He's a punt returner.
I mean,
too.
that's what I mean. Like he is a legitimate playmaker.
Yep.
Like the way he sets blocks up and his patience, you're like, oh yeah, no. Like you get the ball in your hands, like you can actually make plays. This is actually fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, that Eagles defense across the board, it's suffocating. Absolutely suffocating.
Well, I mean, I think the coming out of that game, what everybody's talking about is the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles did not blitz one time in the entire game.
Yikes.
Which means they were getting pressure with 4 throughout the entirety of that game. And in that, you look at it and you say, all right, how do you do that? And why is that? Why is the Super Bowl the first time that this happens? We talked about this on Friday as we were previewing the game, and it was like we had this conversation. It was like you go down and you say, where are the Chiefs better than the Eagles? It was at the 2 most important positions, quarterback and head coach. Those 2 things can be rendered useless, and I did not think that the Eagles were that much more dominant up front than the Chiefs were. I thought they were, because we went like by position group. It was like, yeah, if you squint, you may say the Chiefs may be in the secondary. And we had that conversation on Friday, but it's like the Eagles are really damn good. They're just young.
Yeah.
And when you have 2 rookies starting, you're a young back end of your defense, but they were still just as productive. And there was a lot of people that were saying, well, you know, the Chiefs had to go through the AFC, the Eagles had to go through the NFC, didn't even have to play the Lions in the playoffs, you know, yada, yada, yada. No, it was an absolute avalanche up front. And Joe Thuney moving from guard to tackle had been, you know, a Band-Aid that had worked for the Kansas City Chiefs. That Band-Aid, all of a sudden, it got ripped off, the scab was open, and they could not stop the bleeding throughout the entirety of that game. He got dominated. Across the board. When they're bringing 4 and you have 5 and 6 guys to block them and you still can't stop the pressure, holy smokes, What a performance by the Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, that front for the Eagles was one of the more dominant fronts I've ever seen. To maul the way that they mauled consistently the entire game, only ever bringing 4.
Yeah.
That's kind of an insane thing. And even if they, they drop an edge and they bring a linebacker or whatever, changing it up a little, but to win that consistently, bringing 4 is unhinged. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
No.
That just doesn't happen. And it wasn't like it wasn't Aaron Donald. It wasn't Chris Jones. It was, you know what I mean? It wasn't one guy where it's just like, this man is wrecking everything. It was everyone. It was like Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter did not register tackles, but the pressure that they brought consistently, the doubles that they required, it was just like, oh, sweet Jesus. Somebody's going to get free every single time. And it just happened over and over and over. And a big part of that is, that young secondary that's so talented, they took away everything for the, the first 2 seconds, first 3 seconds, every single play. And that front 4 could get there over and over and over again. No matter how much time Mahomes bought, he just had nowhere to go.
Vic Fangio's game plan was perfection in this regard too, is that they said they knew they had that advantage going in because of the way that they ended up playing that Kansas City team. When Patrick Mahomes had time, he was 3 for 3 on deep balls. he was 3 for 3 on deep balls. And 124 of his passing yards came on those 3 deep passes. But the game plan was, we know we are going to get home, and we're not going to sit there and say, we're going to cap Patrick Mahomes and we're not going to let him throw deep. No, it was, we know we're going to get home and we're going to take everything underneath away, knowing he won't have time to get deep. And that, to me, was, it was the only other time that we have seen that is in his other Super Bowl loss, when they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-9 in the Super Bowl, when they had, I think, what was it? Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh, like they had that Bucks front 7 was lights out as well. And Gronk, did you hear Gronk in the post game? He threw this in there, and I was like, oh boy.
It was like the same blueprint that we had when we beat them in the Super Bowl when I was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rush 4, put all the pressure on Patrick Mahomes, let him scramble around, get frustrated, and then throw interceptions.
And that's what they did. They just fanned out. They said, we're going to go sideline to sideline. They were impeccable in handing all of those crossing routes off, playing all of the pick routes that Kansas City does a really good job of getting guys open with.
You heard nothing underneath all game.
And when you can be that disruptive, and there is they are saying like they didn't blitz a single time. What Fangio was masterful at was he was only bringing 4, but you don't know where 4 are coming from. And that is where you sit there and you go, that's the difference, right? And it caught not just Patrick Mahomes off guard, it caught Andy Reid in that offensive staff that is usually always prepared. It caught them off guard, and that was the surprising part.
The aggressiveness of it. An interesting point as far as what they were willing to give up and how fast they were able to get home. Like we're talking about this game very differently if they're not able to get that pressure, because I can't remember who it was. It was either Nate Tice or Bill Barnwell had the dots, the traces of each play. And one of them said, this is the value of pass rushers. And it showed all 4 levels of Chiefs wide receivers in pockets of space. But because Mahomes wasn't able to, it was running for his life on that play. And it was like 5 different plays where guys were open, but he was running for his life over and over and over again. Even when he evaded 1, and that was the thing, is Mahomes evaded 1 a lot, but it was 2 and 3 and then 4, and then on the fumble play where he got absolutely. Are you surprised they didn't throw a flag on that? Because he got smoked.
Yeah, I was. Well, because you saw Jalen Carter hit him in the face mask, right? But I also think that easily could have been a flag for holding, because Jalen Carter hit him in the face mask as he was getting choked out by the guard who had his arm around his neck. So it was just like, we missed them both.
Have we ever seen Patrick Mahomes get hit like that in the pocket?
No, and that's in the other Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's, But I mean, like, he took big shots in this game.
He did, and he's a guy that there's certain guys who just don't take shots like that. And Patrick Mahomes is one of them. You just can never get the good lick in on him. The Eagles did, and that was the impressive part about what Philly was able to do. And as that game went on, though, the pressure wasn't relentless for 60 minutes. It really wasn't. It was early, and I say this all the time. Pressure makes a coward out of every quarterback, including Patrick Mahomes, including Tom Brady, right? Remember when the whole thing with Tom Brady is you got to get Tom off his spot. Pressure speeds up that internal clock. And as the game wore on, Mahomes was getting hit. He was getting hit like we haven't seen him before, and that clock was turned up a little bit more. And as you go back and you sit there and you digest that game, it was like the times where he did have somewhere to move and where guys were getting open, his clock inside his brain was like, I've got to get rid of the ball. I've got to scramble. I'm going to get hit. And everything fell apart at that point. That's where pressure early dictates how you play late in the game, and we saw that with Mahomes. I don't know if you can play a better game defensively than what Philly did.
Which is kind of insane considering they ended up scoring 22 points, but we all know that those were phantom points.
At the end,
it's all phantom points.
Yeah, I would say one touchdown was I'll give him one.
The worthy one over the top.
Yeah. But other than that, not the 50-yarder, because I think at that point they were like, whatever. I think it was the first worthy.
Oh, you're right. The
touchdown.
first worthy touchdown.
Yeah,
That's right.
It was like a 24-yard touchdown, whatever. Outside of that, no.
The rest was just padding some stats.
I mean, they were getting absolutely.
Shout out Xavier Worthy for putting up a monster box score.
Yeah, that's good for him.
8 catches, $157, 2 touchdowns. Bet you that's some Super Bowl bonus stuff there.
We'll get a little payday there. I think one thing that Mahomes had his day was regrettable, forgettable, and not his best work.
Meanwhile,
it was damn near the best work we've actually back-to-back weeks of the best football we have seen Jalen Hurts play. That man deserves his flowers. We'll get to that after Rust with SportsCenter.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, after seeing their 6-game win streak snapped in Minneapolis on Saturday, the Blazers now in Denver for their final 2 games before the All-Star break. 6 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna, Xfinity Channel 302. Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams III, and Chris Murray are all questionable. The Blazers 9.5-point underdogs. The Luka Doncic Lakers era expected to begin tonight in LA as they host the Jazz. 7:30 tip on ESPN and Disney+. The Lakers are 12-point favorites. On the other side of that trade, Mavericks forward center Anthony Davis, he's going to miss multiple weeks due to a left adductor strain suffered Saturday against the Rockets. And Commissioner Adam Silver announced today Hawks guard Trae Young will replace the injured Giannis Antetokounmpo in this weekend's All-Star game. Young had voiced his pleasure previously after initially not being named. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Slim Reaper.
Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, 46 yards.
The Slim Reaper.
WIP, the Slim Reaper. The Slim Reaper. KD, you don't want it? Devontae Smith will take it. He is the Slim Reaper.
He's not.
Oh, dude, Devontae Smith is like 140
Oh, no,
pounds.
don't get me wrong. He's tiny as hell. But
Killer.
you can't take that name.
Heisman winner. Well, nobody wants it.
It's KD's.
No. KD literally said he didn't want it.
I know. It doesn't matter. It's
No,
his name.
it's been given,
It's
now
it's
Devontae
bestowed
Smith.
upon you. It's like
Slim
getting
Reaper.
the nickname Muscle Hamster. You're not. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's
But nobody calls KD the Slim Reaper.
They still do.
Yeah.
They still do.
Um,
it's a nickname too good to not take.
Well, he didn't.
Yeah. Well.
Devontae Smith, that 46-yard touchdown, really, the ball was rolling downhill for the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jalen Hurts, man, that young man had one hell of a football game. And you just think of everything that Jalen Hurts has been through. And there's been a lot of criticism thrown Jalen Hurts' way. And NFC Championship game, he goes out, has the game of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, game of his life was the first game Super Bowl that these two teams played, where he played out of his mind and they still lost. He goes out in the NFC Championship game and he wins it with his arms, and they do it in convincing fashion over the Washington Commanders. And then it was, well, the quarterback advantage is too great in Kansas City's side that a lot of people weren't giving the Eagles enough flowers. Jalen Hurts goes 17 of 22, 221, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But he also ran the ball for 72 yards and a touchdown. And he was absolutely flawless for a majority of that game.
There's only really one play where was the pick, and beyond that, on Friday we talked about what were the kind of the keys to success, like what were some indicators that the Eagles are winning. The big one was Barkley, and boy did they bottle him up.
Yeah, they did a great job.
The Chiefs decided we're going to make Jalen Hurts beat us. The problem was Jalen Hurts beats you badly, early and often. They said, we're going to play up front. We're going to make sure Saquon can't get loose, can't get to the edges. We are going to tackle. We are going to just flow to the ball, but means we are going to be in single coverage in the back end over and over and over again. And Jalen Hurts just dropped dart after dart after dart up the sidelines. And it was just going, okay. Look, it ended up not mattering. That OPI was such trash.
It was.
Oh my God. Just stop. I had Chiefs fans trying like, what? You can't, you're just going to let him I'm like, he had him beat, dog. He wasn't getting there. He wasn't getting there. It is what it is. Like, like if that had created the separation necessary for him to make the play, fine. Because we all know what that looks like.
Yeah.
But that's just
that looked like hand fighting that was a whiff.
Yeah.
Like he was tracking up high. He put his hand out like I'm gonna knock your arm off of me and went into the face. I didn't like it. It was called. It didn't end up mattering. And that the reality of it is that play actually cost Jalen Hurts being perfect on the day in deep throws.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, and that's the crazy part about it. Like he was actually the interception did, but he would have been, just think of how that game even gets even more out of hand. If they convert on that, the ball is rolling downhill.
Yeah. And it starts quick and it's maybe even over sooner.
Jalen Hurts going down and not just picking the Chiefs apart. We talked about how with the way that the Eagles defended Patrick Mahomes was, we're going to get home with 4. We know we're going to get home with 4. And what we are going to be able to do is fan out across the field and say, we're going to take away your intermediate passing game and short passing game because we don't think you're going to have enough time to go deep. And they did it. The Chiefs, we talked about this, and this was like my biggest thing was I thought Dallas Goedert was going to have a big game because they were going to have to commit so much of their attention with their linebackers to that +1 run game with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley that he was going to be able to get loose underneath. They did, and when you look at where a majority of the completions were for Jalen Hurts, it was 10 yards and under. But where Jalen Hurts has been criticized the most as a passer is his inability to convert outside the numbers. Jalen Hurts outside the numbers went 10 of 14 for 148 yards.
Carved him. Dotted guys.
He
Dotted
was
guys.
he was damn near perfect. He was 3 for 4 on deep balls outside the numbers, and that one was a interception on the 2-yard line.
And it's actually really funny. The leading into the game, there was on I believe it was on ESPN. They talked about the actual circumstances that were going to lead to that interception, and Nate Tice nailed it, word for word, bar for bar, what was going to happen. Because that's kind of the knock on Jalen, like those situations, and he threw that ball up, played 500 with it, and it was like, oh no, don't do that.
He also got hit and couldn't step into it.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that was not a ball that you probably should have thrown. I think if you were to ask him, he was probably trying to throw it out of bounds,
but just couldn't finish it.
No.
I say, other than that play though, the big stat obviously is the sacks, quarterback hits. Chiefs had 3 QB hits. Jalen Hurts sat in that pocket. I don't even know how many times where I went, is anybody going to get there? He just sat there and sat there and sat there. And I'm thinking, this is the Spags defense. Where's it at? Like, where's the intensity? Where's the pressure? Where's the disruption? Jalen Hurts was clean pretty much the whole game.
You have to, when you play, and this is like the herd they had Tom Brady on last week, and Brady said in the preparation, getting ready for Spags defense, I knew their defense better than they did by the time they played. A lot of what it takes to beat that defense is you have to be so overly prepared that you know because you're going to have to slide your protection one way or the other, because they're going to run games with defensive linemen. There was one time where they ran games with the defensive linemen and then brought the corner off the edge, and you're like, oh boy. And I think that's where they got the interception. But you have to guess correctly, and you call it guessing correctly. These are very educated guesses here, but you're gonna be wrong sometimes. The Eagles were right over and over,
more than they were wrong.
and over
That's for damn sure.
again, and that was a massive difference. And it meant you didn't have to have Saquon Barkley carrying the load. But you know what Saquon Barkley did to like a Hall of Fame degree? In pass protection, he was stepping up, giving shoulder, and picking up linebackers, picking up defensive linemen, and he was creating so much extra time for Jalen Hurts. It was a master class of offensive line and then blitz pickup from running backs in that backfield.
Every big throw was basically, you saw Saquon Barkley. The touchdown to Devonta up the seam was Barkley picking up the edge rusher, and Jalen Hurts literally just being able to step up into a throw and dime him up.
That display of dominance by the Eagles, though, is not anything really new. Did you see the stat about their playoff run in their 4 playoff games?
The turnover differential? They have the best turnover differential in Super Bowl history.
They played
right, so playoff history.
200. They played 240 minutes of playoff football.
Mm-hmm.
They trailed for a total of 5 minutes and 43 seconds in its entirety.
Good God.
Including leading 51 minutes of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The
other portion, they were tied.
This wasn't just the Eagles being really good in the Super Bowl. This was a run of dominance that they just imposed their will on every single team that they played throughout the entire playoffs. And Jalen Hurts was at his best. Vic Fangio was at his best. I thought Kellen Moore called a great game too.
The Vancouver Vortex line, the look on Spags' face throughout the game was incredible, and you could see him. He was like kind of wide-eyed and scratching his head, like, "What do I got to do here? Like, where else can I go? What else can we get to?" Like, again, I very much think that they came with that game plan thinking, stop Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
That has been the key to their success. Even if you obviously watch and scout the Commanders game and the title game and how good Jalen Hurts was, but you're going, this team is built on Saquon Barkley. Let's take that away and make Jalen beat us.
He did.
But when he beats you that bad, that fast, can you make a change at that point? Can you get into scramble mode if he is being that effective because he was that good?
I don't think that there's much they could have done because where Jalen Hurts beat them, we're talking about those numbers. He completed 71% of his passes outside the numbers.
And when you're doing that, I mean,
in 4 of 6 of he went 10 of 14 outside the numbers. 4 of 6 were 10 yards or further downfield.
Yeah, chunk yards.
So it's like when he is that efficient, that is where the Chiefs are going, all right, if we get beat, this is how we're going to get beat. Well, they did. And that's exactly how it happened. And Jalen Hurts, he said something after the game that I think a lot of people appreciated, but it's a consistency of his message that I appreciate the most. We'll get to that next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Jalen Hurts is rightfully getting his roses after his Super Bowl 59 performance, where he dismantled the Chiefs' defense both through the air and with his legs. 17 to 22, 221, 2 touchdowns, an interception, sacked twice, but he ran the ball for 11 times, 72 yards, and a touchdown as well. It was about as good of a performance as you could ask for from Jalen Hurts. And after the game, he talked about, the team and the effort that it took to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
It definitely took a team effort, it took a group effort, and only thing I can think about is all the effort, all the work that was put in over the course of time. And I think we had a focused group out there. Offense was able to score points, to take advantage of opportunities, just enough to put points on the board, and then defense played their ass off. They played how they played all year, and I truly believe offense wins games, but defense wins championships, and how that defense has been able to play. It's a great testament to them.
He is very business-like in everything that he does.
Militant.
And there was, before the game, they were doing the stories about how he still has his screensaver as the Super Bowl loss just a few years ago.
That's the kind of pettiness I strive for.
And the confetti being red and yellow raining down, and how, he's always used that as a reminder every single day. And he was asked about the validation of winning a Super Bowl. And he said, I had a purpose before anyone had an opinion. That thing is still true. I love that from him. And there was an article that that he wrote for the Players Tribune after they lost, and I think this was prior to him even entering the NFL. He said this story is still mine. It's still just getting started. There are movie moments still to come, and I dang sure never thought I would ever have the power to positively impact so many people, especially kids across the nation, like I do now. I think Jalen Hurts is the guy who does, for whatever reason, gets picked apart and torn down. But he's one of those guys that, he does it all the right way.
He does. And I think that's maybe what bothers some people, is that, in a sense, he's kind of the ultimate team guy. Even if there's the stories that we had with him and Sirianni button heads, You definitely worry about that, but you never got the sense that he was butting heads with him because it was a diva or like that.
Do you remember the framing of that?
Mm-hmm.
It was that Jalen Hurts could give 2 S's about Nick Sirianni watering the plants and watering the flowers and letting them grow. It was, what are we going to do to win?
Yes.
How are we going to get better, and how are we going to fix this to win? And Sirianni said it, after the game, talking about look, the end of last year and it falling apart is why we're here today, because that forced them to, whether it was hiring Kellen Moore to be a buffer between the two of them, because one guy is wholly focused on the team aspect, bringing everybody together, growing things like a flower, and the other one is, I'm going to rip your damn throat out and I'm going to win.
A militant winner.
Yes. And they are 2 completely different types of people. And Jalen Hurts always gets ragged on because he isn't the most gifted passer.
No. Tell you what, you could have fooled me with the throws he made yesterday.
But he can do it. And when you give him the pieces, when you give him, and this is every single quarterback, right? You give a quarterback time, he's going to be able to win. And his offensive line was absolutely dominant yesterday. And I just find that with everything that he has gone through, think of, he became the 3rd quarterback. Did you see this stat? 3rd quarterback to win a Super Bowl and a national championship.
Oh,
as a starting quarterback. Yeah, he was benched in that national championship game
for Tua.
But he did it. And he kind of is, and I think that was probably the jumping off point of, hey, it is Jalen Hurts isn't that guy because he was even benched for Tua. Well, the most playoff wins from that 2000 draft class, that's pretty damn good. They go to Jalen Hurts, who was Super Bowl MVP yesterday. He has 6 playoff wins. Joe Burrow has 5. Jordan Love has 1. Justin Herbert and Tua each have 0. That is a really damn good quarterback class, and he is leading the charge. In the NFL, like, as much as we get hung up on individual accolades and is this guy the best, every single one of these quarterbacks, you are not going to be worth a lick unless you have a team around you that is really good. And that is what the Eagles have done. They have built an absolute monster.
I mean, think about this. The flip side of that. This was the year that the Chiefs didn't have the weapons that they've had in the past, that didn't have the overwhelming offense, and they played more balanced football. And this is the year that you saw Patrick Mahomes in the biggest moment look the worst of his career.
Yep.
And all the talk coming in was how much of an advantage Patrick Mahomes was over Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
And it was not the case.
That's crazy. Yeah. He's only had one offensive coordinator, too, for more than one season. Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
Other than that, he had Brian Johnson for a year, Kellen Moore for a year. You go back to his college days where the Nick Saban Rehabilitation Clinic, it was a revolving door
Sark,
of coordinators
Kiffin.
coming through. Like
Lincoln Riley
at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like, it has been, and he's going to have another one because Kellen Moore's probably minutes
Is-
away from being
Is he gone?
announced the
Sirianni
Saints.
asked him to come back and run this.
Run it back.
Run it back.
Dude. I don't know if they need to, because did you see?
Well,
Have you seen the
anything.
rundown?
Jalen Hurts has shown that he can do it with anyone.
Have you seen the rundown of what the Eagles have done to build this roster?
The Howie
Dude,
Super Bowl run.
yeah.
Pretty damn impressive.
It's mind-blowing.
Pretty damn impressive.
Howie Roseman and what he did to build this Eagles team.
Tell you what, that man was turned up in the locker room.
Remember, there was a conversation that Jeffrey Lurie picked Howie Roseman over Chip Kelly and said, I'm going with the GM, not with the head coach. And that was,
It was a
it
big
raised
deal.
eyebrows at the time because Chip took them to the playoffs. I mean, it all fell apart. But what Howie Roseman has done is nothing short of amazing. We'll break that down because I think that if you're wondering, all right, how can my team fix this? I give you the Philadelphia Eagles next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
From the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys into whom you can place your trust. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, after seeing their 6-game win streak snapped in Minneapolis on Saturday, the Blazers now in Denver for their final 2 games before the All-Star break. 6 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams III, Chris Murray, all questionable. The Blazers are 9.5-point underdogs. The Luka Doncic Lakers era expected to begin this evening in Los Angeles as they host the Jazz. 7:30 tip on ESPN and Disney+. The Lakers are 12-point favorites. On the other side of that trade, Mavericks forward center Anthony Davis will miss multiple weeks due to a left adductor strain suffered Saturday against the Rockets. And Commissioner Adam Silver announced today Hawks guard Trae Young will replace the injured Giannis Antetokounmpo in this weekend's All-Star game. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
It's not your problem, Doc. You don't have to mix up in this.
That is a hell of a thing for you to say to me.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, skin it. Skin that smoke wagon and see what happens.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
I'm your huckleberry.
The Fan.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Monday afternoon. RIP football season. Pour one out for you. Poured a few out. As the Eagles dismantle the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. Complete performance. And what is incredible about the way that the Eagles were able to win that Super Bowl, think of how much they had so much turmoil at the end of last year, right? Remember, they were just taking L after L with a 10-1 start, and then they won one game in the final stretch. Is that right? 10-1, and then they went 1-5 to end the season, I think. But this is their last offseason. Just the Eagles' last offseason. Mm-hmm. Okay, they extend kicker Jake Elliott, extend Jordan Mailata, their left tackle, extend Landon Dickerson, their guard, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. They trade for Kenny Pickett. They trade for Jahan Dotson, who was a castaway in Washington and ended up, I don't know, did he make a pretty big play in the Super Bowl? No? Okay. They drafted Jalix Hunt in the 3rd round.
He was impactful.
Cooper DeJean in the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm. And took him coming off a season where he shredded his knee.
They drafted Quinyon Mitchell in the 1st round.
Yeah, he also very good.
They sign a linebacker, Oren Burks, tackle, or played guard for him, Mekhi Becton, who was a castaway. Mm-hmm. They sign in free agency, Zach Bond,
who was a safety who he moved up to linebacker and is now going to get paid by somebody.
They signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Mm-hmm. They signed Saquon Barkley.
Oof.
They hired Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, both of their coordinators. Think of this offseason.
And both those guys were not guys that nobody thought those hires were the best possible hires they could make. Because remember, Fangio was on the way out in Denver where it did not go well. And Kellen Moore, you're sitting there like, well, he's okay, but, what was really being done in Dallas, da-da-da. And I think it's just, none of those hires were looked at as like, that's the move. That's the thing that's going to push them over the top.
Yet, almost every single one of those people
played
a massive role in the Super Bowl 59 win, including Jake Elliott, who is 1 of 8 from field goals of 50 yards or more, just pipes it.
He had one, even after it got moved back, that it was good from 70.
I did say, though, at the time, it was like, well, I mean, this really doesn't count because there's zero pressure here.
Yeah.
When you're up that big, like, yeah, just let it rip, buddy. But he did it. He nailed it. But think of that. Whether it was the extensions of the guys who were already on the roster, be it A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Mailata, or trading for Jahan Dotson. Hell, Kenny Pickett even took snaps at the end because they were blowing out the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super
And
Bowl.
you don't want to get your quarterback hurt for next year.
They sign Zach Bond, who comes up with an interception in the red zone. Well, it gives you red zone field position. Leads to a touchdown. Cooper DeJean gets a pick six for a touchdown. Those two guys right there give you 14 points in the Super Bowl, for God's sakes.
Pretty good.
Right? Saquon Barkley, a 2,000-yard rusher. Like, that was just one off season, but it goes so much deeper because we talk about those first three picks of their draft this past year with Jalix Hunt, Cooper DeJean, and Quinyon Mitchell. You go back their last four drafts.
Let me guess. Pretty good?
So their last four drafts, we'll just go with their first two picks of each draft. Okay. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean.
Bang, bang.
Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith.
Bang, bang.
Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens.
Bang, bang.
Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson.
Good God. Good God.
And then you want to go back one more year. They whiffed on Jalen Reagor, but got Jalen Hurts. In the second round, Jalen Hurts. So you go back to 2020, they have knocked it out of the park in the draft. And that's where it is. Like, everybody wants to sit there and look at Saquon Barkley like that is it. No, this is 5 years of just nails in the draft. And one thing that Howie Roseman has always been good at is evaluating talent on both offensive and defensive lines, right? And that is where they won their Super Bowl in 2016. It's where they got back to a Super Bowl in 2022. And it's where they won the Super Bowl this year as well. I mean, it is in the trenches. That is where you win. And they did an incredible job of building this roster in that vein. I mean, it's crazy. I saw, Kevin Clark of
Omaha Productions.
He does a lot of the breakdown stuff, analytics guys.
The big produced content for ESPN.
He tweeted out, after the full Super Bowl, I went to Philly to do a piece on how the Eagles won with analytics. Someone high up there who loves their analytics laughed at me when I told him what the angle was. He said, quote, "We're always good because of our trenches. Everything else comes after." That is exactly where they have found their success. And that's where turning around a franchise and a roster starts.
It's always so funny. We get to the end of the Super Bowl almost every year, and we always talk about quarterback play and and the quarterback's the most important position, blah, blah, blah. What ends up being the defining thing that wins almost every single Super Bowl and is the most important factor?
Yeah.
It's being great in the trenches.
In the last time that the Chiefs got beat in the Super Bowl, remember they were like on backups everywhere on their O-line? Like, and that's the thing. The Chiefs have always been good up front on both sides of the football too. Joe Thuney was a large reason why they did not win up front at left tackle. Well, their right tackle was a mess as well.
Yeah.
But they got dominated up front. And that right there is where all games are won and lost. So you could sit there and say, and this is where I go back to like your beloved Raiders, my beloved Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
You are looking for a quarterback and you're like, we need that quarterback. No, you don't.
You got to keep him upright.
Because you can get a Drake May like the Patriots have right now. It doesn't matter if he's getting teed off on. Yeah. The great thing about the Patriots dynasty is that Bill Belichick could not draft a wide receiver to save his ass.
But boy, did he do great on that offensive line.
And he would get those guys at the end of the first round, in the second, third, and fourth rounds. And that is where great franchises are built. And that's where you win. And there's no secret about it. Like, there's a reason why Jim Harbaugh takes over the Chargers and he's like, Joe Alt, don't care. No. Joe Alt, want him. I don't care. If I get all the great linemen, we are going to win.
Yeah.
That's why it was so head-scratching and dumbfounding that the Cowboys could never win at a high level.
When they had that line.
For multiple years.
Multiple years. The best line. And I think that's maybe, not to go off on a tangent, that's maybe the biggest reason why I don't trust the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Because you had the best offensive line in football by leaps and bounds, and you still were like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, think about it. The fall off with the dominance of the Seattle Seahawks, too, right? They go to back-to-back Super Bowls, and then they had to start making their really tough decisions. A lot of those tough decisions sent some really damn good players out of town up front on their offensive line. They were not the same after that. And that is, you look at all of these great franchises. The Eagles have knocked it out of the park with drafts left and right, but they've also had the luxury of evaluating, drafting, and developing guys on both lines of scrimmage that have just become absolute game wreckers. It's pretty crazy. It is crazy. And then Jalen Carter with the 9th pick. We know why he dropped to 9th, but they said, yeah, he's going to be special.
We'll take that risk.
And he has been. He absolutely has been. All right, 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. We got some of your feedback, but we've gone to the game. We still have plenty more to get to with Super Bowl. What do you think of these commercials? Was it a big commercial year?
No.
There was a couple that stood out.
Sure.
And probably, like, the serious ones were really good this year.
Well, most of them.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to that. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. All right, Super Bowl 59. We've talked a lot about this game. It was a blowout. I think for the Chiefs, and we'll get into this a little bit later.
But it was a fun blowout.
Yeah, for the Chiefs, it was, boy, Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And where do you fix things for Kansas City? Again, this is where Tom Brady. Remember, Tom Brady went a decade between Super Bowl wins. It's really damn hard to do. Never got blown out in one though.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I am somebody who genuinely believes that Mahomes has a chance to possibly be the best quarterback of all time.
Mm.
That is something that is on the table.
Shut your mouth.
I am super thrilled that he got punched in the face, metaphorically, and that train came to a roaring stop.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Because had he won, oh God,
yeah,
we were down that path. But
well, rightfully so.
No, and you're not wrong. But there's a part of me, very large part of me, that was happy to see that team cut off at the knees so egregiously.
Yeah. What do we think of the Super Bowl commercials this year? What was your favorite commercial? Favorite commercial? Go.
I think that's part of the problem is I don't think I had a favorite. Willem Dafoe.
Oh, the Mick Ultra pickleball?
I did enjoy. Look, I love me some Willem Dafoe. I love me some Willem Dafoe. You know, I'm a bit of a scientist myself. Is always going to stick with me with the old Spider-Man movies and Boondock Saints. I mean, the dude's range is crazy good, and he gets that evil look on his face.
He has the best creepy smile.
I mean, just fantastic.
It's a good creepy smile.
And whether it's Spider-Man, Boondock Saints, John Wick, it's the same devious look on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got that playing pickleball and hustling pickleball
with Catherine O'Hare,
I was in on that. The Little Caesars, Pringles, both either giving their ads to AI or to the same ad agency to where they had flying facial hair. That got me a little bit.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of that. Like, there were two off-putting ones. Don't even know the company. What company did I mean, this is hands down, far and away, worst Super Bowl ad of the year. Might be the worst one ever for me. The skull hats, flesh hats.
Oh,
what company
Tubi.
was that? Tubi did that?
Tubi.
No, I'm out on Tubi.
Cowboy flesh hat?
Yeah. No.
Or no.
That
Cowboy...
gave me the creeps.
Was it fleshy cowboy hat?
I don't know what it was, but it was like started with like a baby where his skull was in the shape of a cowboy hat and it had like skin over the top of it. That was a minute of time I would love to have back in my life.
And then the wizard.
It just gave me the creeps the entire time. And then I started thinking, no, not only is this gross, but what if this kid bumps his head? Is he breaking his cowboy hat head?
Yeah.
Like, is it bone? Is it cartilage? What is happening there? I didn't know. It just creeped me out. Didn't even realize until you told me it was Tubi. Had no idea what the ad was for.
I remember thinking, what the hell is this?
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing the ad in. The best,
that one was awful.
The best commercial, this is an oversight. The best commercial was Nike's.
You thought so?
And it wasn't because it's women's sports. I don't. It was Nike returning to exceptionalism. About being the best, being dominant, being a winner. It wasn't, and it's not an anti-DEI thing or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, what they had was the ethos of Nike again. Nike is for winners.
Yeah.
And that was me wanting to see that from them and being like, good.
Yeah.
The whole like winning is for everybody thing. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
And they lean back into winning is exceptional.
Yeah.
Being better is good. Like the inclusivity of sports is like, yeah, that's fine and all, but that's New Balance.
Yeah. I thought Jeep was good with
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the what was it? I think it was a Stella Artois with Dave and David Beckham.
Dave and David Beckham, Matt Damon. More of a Ben Affleck famous.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. That was solid.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Dunkin' Donuts got dragged for theirs. I thought theirs was pretty good.
thought it was fine,
the pregame one.
Yeah, it was the first. It was the first ad.
First ad.
Yeah, first ad was Dunkin' Donuts, where what's his name, Jeremy Irons, comes out of the vat of coffee
Yeah.
because he's a method
Jeremy
actor.
Strong. Yes,
Here.
from Succession.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah.
Strong Irons, whatever. Him coming out of the vat of coffee because he's like a method act. That was funny. That was pretty good. The Doritos one was good. Beer commercials being back.
Oh, the Doritos one was good.
Yeah,
And the cool
with
thing
the-
about that was it's fan made.
Yeah, they brought back the guys who won the original fan contest. That's cool.
Those guys got $1 million. It was a fun little commercial. A guy being thrown around by a tractor beam. I'm in.
I'm in. And then eating Doritos with an alien. That was cool.
The beer commercials were disappointing.
No.
With the exception of one.
I thought 3 were great.
Oh,
or four,
really?
4 were great. We've already talked Mick Ultra, Stella Artois, the Bud Light Cul-de-sac Party.
That's the one that was the winner. The Mondays one from Coors was not.
I like the Sloths one. I thought the Sloths one was pretty good. Like, hey, we're all going to have a case of the
Peyton
Mondays,
Manning.
so why don't you have a case of the Mondays today? It's like, yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And guess what? They were right. I'm feeling a little slow today.
How many Bud Lights that thing hold? As many as you need it to. Peyton Manning with a fanny pack being a cul-de-sac guy.
Is that my leaf blower? It's good stuff. And
You have a
living
lawnmower
in
that's a barbecue? No, I have a smoker that cuts grass.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That one was good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Now my neighbors need to be worried about me driving through their fence.
They had that thing at the Super Bowl. They cut to the ad and he's filling up the ice chest. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was good.
Can I get one of these?
Big questions were asked about, is Seal desperate for money?
Seal as the seal.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't care how bad the commercial was. When somebody goes that far with something, I'm in.
Yeah.
Seal the Seal was like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
It's
I'm
good when
good.
they just fully embrace it.
Yeah, good. Embrace the stupid.
And that was like, they were leaning really heavily into, I think there were 2 commercials we saw, ad campaigns that we saw over the course of the football season with a big payoff at the end. Mountain Dew had been leaning into those weird ads, and they just went all in.
Very early
at the Super
2000s
Bowl.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, with Jason Momoa, driving his boat car. I don't know. But then the other one that leaned really far into what we'd gotten glimpses of, the Uber Eats with McConaughey.
Yeah.
Like football is programming us to eat more food. And because we saw that with the Christian McCaffrey, Jerry Rice. What are you eating, Jerry? Rice. They went all in. That commercial was good.
Yeah.
I like that one.
I got really tired of the near billionaires telling me about hate.
Oh, Snoop and Tom Brady yelling at each other. That was weird. That was not nearly as off-putting as the Tubi commercial, but I was like, huh?
Again, the near billionaires telling
Yeah.
me about hate.
Yeah.
That was just like,
Oh.
I'm not in on this.
Can you guys fill me in on this one? Tim Robinson, Sam Richardson, pizza rolls commercial.
I didn't see
that on the Vancouver Ford text line. That one is not ringing a bell for me.
Yeah, there was an alien that came down and he was getting back on his ship like almost at the end of ET, and he said, "Hey, thanks for sharing your pizza rolls with me." And before he was ready for it, the ship door closed on him and basically killed him.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I do not remember that one.
I must have walked down the room for that
And
one.
Tim
I'm gonna have to
Anderson and
go.
the other guy, there was like 2 other kids in it, and they're both like, "Well, we didn't really know him like you guys did, so it doesn't hurt as much for us."
So, Orange O guy says the Instant Cart commercial where they brought back the old school and new and current mascots for companies.
I'm on a porch.
They
and it
brought
disappears
like,
into the deodorant.
but it was like every single ad that we'd seen.
It was like Ready Player One for video games, where they brought all the nostalgia characters into the movie. A lot of that.
I was watching the Super Bowl with a guy who is in the ad business, makes commercials.
A Wyden Kennedy guy.
No, he's not. He's not at Wyden Kennedy.
No.
But no. But he was saying that within the ad industry, that commercial is pissing a lot of people off because people worked really damn hard to make those memorable commercials
The
and
IP.
make those characters and do that, and then it was just all ripped off into one ad that somebody else is going to get the credit for.
Instacart went out there and paid the rights
Yeah.
for that stuff, and they
Yeah.
said, this is ours for this commercial.
Yeah. So that was like,
And I bet you the people that wrote those ads probably don't get the kickbacks.
yeah. I mean, that was a little.
Because, they had everything in that commercial.
Yeah.
It was like, oh.
That was brutal, dude. So yeah, good commercial. Oh, the Pfizer commercial was good too. The boxer kid, that one
Okay.
was like, oh boy,
Look,
fighting cancer.
It
you kidding me?
but also Pfizer, not exactly having the best reputation.
Yeah, I don't care. That commercial was good. Commercial was good.
It was, and then
Are we gonna go ahead
when
and
it cuts to the Pfizer worker in the glass, I was like,
Well, hold on.
I thought it was honestly. You know what I thought it was when it first started?
Yeah.
Because he rang the bell.
Yeah.
I thought it was a St. Jude's commercial.
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought
Maybe.
it was. So maybe my thought process going into it was a little more biased. When it went the complete other way, I went,
Yeah.
no.
When they had Michael Buffer as part of that, they paid a lot of money.
Yeah, because it's at least, is it 2?
You have to buy that saying that he has, and we can't even say that saying.
No.
Or they will.
Oh, they say they're cease and
They come
desist,
after-
and
they come
it's-
after
we
you.
get. For those that are wondering, we get emails regularly.
Yeah.
From corporate.
All the time.
Do not. It doesn't even matter what it is. Just a reminder: don't play this. Don't say it. Don't use it, because the Buffer family, with their sayings,
They'll come at you.
they will litigate.
Yeah, they will.
I don't think there's a property more protected than that one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even joking.
That was crazy. But I'm not going to sit there and go into the ethics of any of these companies, because
It gets dicey real quick.
all of them. It was a good commercial. It was a good ad.
No, it was.
Good
It
ad.
was. It got you right in the feels.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh man.
But there wasn't an ad that jumped out.
There's
There's nothing carrying over into today. There's no saying. There's no
there wasn't like a
jingle
or anything.
Did we
like
get
that.
it Clydesdales?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I missed the Clydesdales.
Pony Keg fell off, and the pony Clydesdale got it.
Oh.
Yeah, they had the Clydesdale one.
I missed that one. I walked out.
No, it was there. Remember that a few years ago we had nothing but serious commercials, and that
Well, that was
needed
coming
to
out.
stop.
That was coming out of COVID.
But that wasn't the time for
No.
that. It's like, no, we don't want that. Make us laugh, clown.
Give me the Budweiser frogs.
Now I think we're easing our way back into that. But come on,
It's simple things in life.
it truly, truly is.
Speaking of simple things in life, coming up on the worst day on the web, people not understanding or getting the halftime show. We'll get into that next here. But first, it's Big Kahuna with Sports on Update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on the Fan. After having their 6-game win streak snapped in Minneapolis on Saturday night, the Blazers now in Denver for their final 2 games before the All-Star break. 6 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams III, Chris Murray, all questionable. The Blazers are 9.5-point underdogs. The Luka Doncic Lakers era expected to begin tonight in Los Angeles as they host the Jazz. 7:30 tip on ESPN and Disney+. The Lakers are 12-point favorites. On the other side of that trade, Mavericks forward center Anthony Davis will miss multiple weeks due to a left adductor strain suffered Saturday against the Rockets. And Commissioner Adam Silver announced today Hawks guard Trae Young will replace the injured Giannis Antetokounmpo in this weekend's All-Star game. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Did you score a smart speaker over the holidays? Just asked it to play 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks!
Super Bowl halftime show is an American tradition where people love to argue about it. Greatest of all time, worst of all time. What was it? Who is this person? Blah, blah, blah. Kendrick Lamar, not everybody knows who he is because he's a rapper. And the NFL has made a very real push to stop playing Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's an element of when you have that many people watching, you want to have something that appeases the masses, right?
But in that regard, who is the most important demographic?
Young people to continue to watch the game.
That's what the NFL has never done that, though.
No.
The NFL, what their halftime show has always been about is their most valuable demographic. 35 to 54.
For males.
And guess how old Kendrick Lamar is?
37?
Indeed. He is for us.
Yeah.
That is who he is for. And that was very clear when we saw overweight 50 Cent stuffed into that bulletproof vest, hanging upside down, and I don't care, 50, you're a king.
That was
the
great.
fact that you still were able to squeeze into that and your face got bloated with blood because you hung upside down for too long.
You're damn right.
You still put on a show.
Yeah.
But that's what that, again, 50's in his 40s. Snoop is in his 50s. Those guys are old.
Yeah.
That was they're for us.
Mm-hmm.
And for the olds out there, I don't know who this is. You don't matter.
Well, but there's a lot of younger people that were like, just wasn't for me. Didn't think it was the right artist for it. Here's the reality.
Might be the second biggest artist right now.
He is quite literally, and I tweeted this out, the people that are criticizing the choices Kendrick Lamar doing the halftime show, the dude won 5 Grammys last week,
and
including Song of the Year,
Album of the Year,
and
both.
His yeah. And we also have to remember that Taylor Swift ain't doing that halftime show because they don't get paid to do it.
You pay, I think Kendrick paid $7 million.
Kendrick Lamar paid the NFL, and look, the NFL is not going to turn that down because also people are like, oh, he's not that big, and I had people posting he's not the hottest artist on earth when they sent the most streamed artists globally this year, and it's like Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, Bad Bunny, Drake is 4, Billie Eilish. He wasn't in the top 10. He had the #1 song on the Billboard Global 200 list, and it's not like us. That was Song of the Year. Okay, it was #1 this year, not 5 years ago, not a decade ago. This past year,
hottest song on the planet.
And he said, "I will pay to do this Super Bowl halftime show
because I'm going to kick off my tour,
and I'm going to use 20 minutes to not just stab, but then twist the knife because Not Like Us is a diss track to Drake, and he spent 20 minutes taunting Drake." And
setting
then
him up,
singing the song and smiling directly into the camera when he said, "Hey, Drake." And he was wearing a chain with a lowercase a.
An A minor chain.
70,000 people in the in the Caesar Superdome yelled A minor.
He drops, and I looked at my wife and I go, I hope he drops out and lets the crowd carry it. And he did, because the same thing happened at the Grammys.
Yep.
He goes up to accept that award. They play 2.5 minutes of the song from his walk up before he even gets up to the stage, or before he even starts talking. And at the Grammys, you're talking about all the biggest artists in the world. Taylor Swift in that crowd, getting up, dancing, and when that part of the song comes on, the entire Grammy crowd screaming A minor. Instead, now you've got 70,000 people doing it. And to add insult to injury, and this is why the NFL wants Kendrick Lamar. Because it wasn't just him having the #1 most streamed song, most played song in the world. It wasn't just him having the album of the year or the song of the year. There's a cultural context, a subtext to this that Kendrick Lamar absolutely murdered by having both SZA and Serena Williams, both Drake's exes, on stage. I didn't realize, because Serena's hair was in her face, that it was Serena crip walking down the makeshift boulevard.
Yeah. I thought, and here's the thing. I don't think when he came out and we were like, what song is this? The very first song is a song he hasn't even released yet.
And I think that was a misstep by him.
Yeah.
Because the energy wasn't there.
Yeah.
But when he teased, Not Like Us, about the lawyers.
Because they didn't want him to do it.
And then he looks into the camera, say Drake, and that music drops. You could feel the energy shift. And it was like, that's when the show really took off. Maybe you don't lead with it.
No.
But
well, he did it.
He did it, and look, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. Other than the first song, I'm singing along. I'm loving every bit of it. It's not the best show I've ever seen.
No,
it wasn't even probably a top 10. But
no, it wasn't.
There was nothing about it other than maybe the opening song choice that I wasn't like, this is fun.
Yeah.
This is good.
And I think that maybe that's where it missed the masses, is that you have to read up on really what his beef was with Drake, where all of the hidden little cues that he had hidden in there to take shots at Drake and to take shots at all of his enemies, not just Drake, but like he took shot after shot. And then the fact that the final thing that everybody saw was light up in the crowd, game over. It was.
Guess who that message was for?
That he paid $7 million
to tap dance on somebody's grave.
Most widely watched television program of the year, and it will be because it's the Super Bowl. It always happens. He paid $7 million to just absolutely finish once and for all Drake, and I'm here for that level of petty. And I don't know, man. How do you come back from that?
You don't. You gotta disappear for a while.
Goodness gracious!
And
I think a lot of the people.
It is the best rap beef of all time, with the most heinous ending outside of somebody getting killed.
Yeah. Yes. And like I think for a lot of people that criticize the performance itself, I think if they had an idea of how petty it actually was,
the cultural implication,
they'd be like, "Oh, I get it now."
Yeah.
I get it. But I do understand it wasn't for everybody. No. The NFL is probably going to pivot the other way and go really hard the other direction. And we are going to get like, I don't know, Blake Shelton next year or something like that.
I don't think they are. I
thought it was good.
I think that with the last couple of halftime shows, whether it be The Weeknd, whether it be Snoop and 50, the West Coast All-Stars. Isn't The Weeknd an LA guy too? Have we had 3 straight years?
Yeah.
Of LA hip hop, pop, kind of dominating the culture?
I don't know. I don't even remember last year's halftime show, to be honest.
What was last year's halftime show?
Don't even remember.
I'm totally blanking.
Don't even remember.
Good Lord.
Yeah. See, and this is why people getting upset. Yeah. It won't matter.
The ones that you remember: Michael Jackson, Creed, which wasn't even a Super Bowl halftime show. 50 and Snoop.
That was Dallas Cowboys Thanksgiving.
Still one of the best halftime shows ever. As hilarious as it is. Timberlake and Janet Jackson. But I mean, it's, who was last year's?
Usher.
Oh yeah, Usher's was great.
Usher, yeah, with Alicia Keys, Will.i.am, Lil Jon, Ludacris.
That's the other. I think complaint that I've seen is that Kendrick didn't bring out enough guests.
Yeah. Well,
he did bring out Mustard though.
I didn't know who that was. I had to be told who that was.
Yeah, that's the DJ. He did all the beats basically on the entire album.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I saw this too. Texture saying there's a reason why Drake secluded himself to Australia. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, you didn't even see him post his stake bet.
What?
Stake.com.
I don't know.
That's who he usually puts his betting slips
his wagers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no, I didn't see that.
I bet you bet on the Chiefs.
Yikes. Well, it saved everybody from the Super Bowl, the Drake curse in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Both fan bases were saved.
Worried
from that.
about that.
Yep.
So, all right, coming up next. Speaking of performances and good, bad, or otherwise, just how bad was this performance from Patrick Mahomes? We'll get into that here next on Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan. This is the part of the show where the Raiders fan tap dances on the Chiefs' grave a little heavier. Just how bad was Patrick Mahomes in this game? It was the second worst rating he has had in a game in his career.
It was bad.
An 11.4. I mean, there isn't a single thing that you can take out of this game and go, yeah, there's some saving grace there. There's a lot of this. The analytics coming out of this game at halftime, he had a negative 1.21 EPA. Expect that's negative points added per drop back. It was the worst rating in his career by more than a full half point. Which, when you're talking about this stuff over the course of a game, that's such an enormous number. Like you almost can't fathom just how ridiculously bad it was. And it got even worse because you take a look at the stats that came out of this game. They had 0 points and 23 yards.
Yikes.
At halftime.
Yikes.
I mean, there was nothing redemptive about that performance at all.
Well, yeah, and a lot of it is not Patrick Mahomes, because we know what Patrick Mahomes is. We know what the player that he is and how good he is. He is so damn impressive.
At worst, the third best quarterback of all time.
But
At worst.
yesterday, when you talk about just him being bad, I mean, it was not just the pick six to Cooper DeJean. He got sacked twice before that. That's
Yes.
not all on Patrick Mahomes.
No, it was hurried
but
up.
you go sack, pick six. He had 2 interceptions in the first half that led to 14 points. His fumble led to a field goal. And we talk about this with the Chiefs all the time with the calls late in games, right? Where it is when you play a great team, if you make a mistake, great teams will make you pay for them. 17 points. They end up losing by 18 in the game, right? 17 points were directly related to Patrick Mahomes turning the ball over. It was a pick six to Cooper DeJean. It was an interception inside the 20-yard line to Zach Bond. And
Which I will give Bond. That's a hell of a pick. Going the other
yeah.
way, diving back over and making that play.
And then it was a strip sack where he just got
murdered,
mauled on that one. And those will cost you, right? And to have it happen on the biggest stage, that's where, for Patrick Mahomes, that really sucks for you. Because, and quite honestly, these performances are few and far between for Patrick Mahomes, right? To have this be the worst game that you have played, arguably as a professional, and then really probably one of your second worst was when you lost the Super Bowl by 22 points to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? He is unequivocally, the dude goes to the AFC Championship and or the Super Bowl every damn year.
He is now 17-4 in the playoffs.
He is
2 losses
amazing.
in the Super Bowl, 2 losses in AFC title games. His floor in the playoffs is literally the AFC title game.
But that game, in the way that Philly scheme, and look, it's like you want Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball and make completions, but there's also a large part of to who.
And not only
because the guys weren't getting separation early. They were dialing up pressure with only 4 guys, which means that there's 7 guys defending and if we're being quite honest, your 4 guys going out in patterns. They had 7 guys to defend because they had to keep a back in because the pressure was relentless. And so you had 6 to block 4, couldn't do it. And you had 7 to guard 4, which made it impossible for him to find guys open downfield. So it was his worst game, but also it was like, damn, well, sometimes them's the breaks. What do you expect him to do? But then again, you go back to what did Tom Brady do to Steve Spagnuolo's defense when he carved him up? He said, I knew their defense better than they knew their defense. And it is getting your team to the right spot pre-snap. And sometimes you guess, and sometimes you guess wrong. That happened a lot for the Chiefs against the Eagles defense last night.
And even more than that,
He's bad.
This Chiefs team all year, as good as they were, we talked about them making human sacrifices, blood sacrifices to win the games they did. Why? Because they were in games. It never got outside of a score, maybe 2. They never had to play from behind for any long period of time to really gain that ground up, and where they got more predictable, they got more one-dimensional. I mean, you look at the box score, they had 7 carries by running backs. 7 carries by running backs, and they didn't crack a single thing. The longest run in the game for them was 8 yards on a Mahomes scramble.
Yeah. It was jarring to see, especially because, did you know his little piece of history that he's now a part of? He and Craig Morton are the only 2 quarterbacks to throw interceptions on consecutive pass attempts in Super Bowl history. He threw a pick six to Cooper DeJean. Then they came out, went 3 and out, where on 3rd and long, he took a sack. And then the next time he attempted a pass was the Zach Bond interception.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
and the Bond
Murphy's Law
interception,
game, man.
that one was like that's a big time play for Bond.
Yeah.
The Sheen one, I still, like, every time they show the clip, I'm like, what is he doing with the ball here?
Yeah. Did you know that the Chiefs had the longest streak without crossing midfield in a Super Bowl?
Yeah, it wasn't until late in the 3rd quarter, right?
On
the big play up the sideline.
They didn't cross midfield until the 10th drive.
Good God. Like that's when you like that's domination.
Yeah.
That is an absolute obliteration of a team.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, they did not cross midfield until the 1:58 mark of the third quarter.
Yeah.
There was 1 minute and 58 seconds left in the third quarter before they crossed the 50-yard
And I
line.
want to say 2 or 3 plays before that is when I started to look up if a team had ever been shut out in the Super Bowl. Because you even not knowing that, you felt it.
Yeah.
Like it was like, and I think at that point in time, the Eagles are probably, their defense is probably going into a lot of not necessarily prevent, but a lot of palms. Just saying, keep everything in front of us.
And that was the most jarring part of it, is just like there was nothing to be had. Like the Eagles had more yards and penalties than the Chiefs had yards in the first half.
Yeesh.
That's crazy.
But
dominance.
And it gets
man.
even worse if you actually factor in the OPI.
It was dominance by the Philadelphia Eagles from start to finish, and Patrick Mahomes was not at his best, and saved us from a three-peat.
Now we don't have to ever hear about that.
Yeah. Did you know there actually was a three-peat that was had?
Mhm.
Yeah. There was a three-peat. There's a guy who he played for the Eagles, or he plays for the Eagles this year, and he has now won 3 consecutive Super Bowls. He was on the Chiefs the last 2 years, and now he is Darian Kennard. He is only the second player in NFL history to
make brilliant career choices.
Yeah, to win 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Good for him.
That's pretty good.
Ken Norton Jr.?
Ken Norton Jr., the only other one. Yeah. Look at the big brain on Brad.
Is that 49ers and
Cowboys? 49ers, Cowboys. Yeah. Yeah. Won 2 with the Cowboys and then win over the Niners with Dion.
With Dion, yeah.
Yeah, and won in that 94-95 season where they beat the living hell out of the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad Super Bowls.
That was a bad Super Bowl.
That was a bad Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That one was over quick. All right, coming up next year, down number 3. It's legacy defining time. It's down to who had a bigger legacy play coming out of Super Bowl weekend. Danny and Dusty, 10A the Fan.
From the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rest with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan. After seeing their 6-game win streak snapped in Minneapolis on Saturday night, the Blazers now in Denver for their final 2 games before the All-Star break. 6 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams III, Chris Murray, all questionable. The Blazers are 9.5-point underdogs. The Luka Doncic Lakers era expected to begin tonight in Los Angeles as they host the Jazz. 7:30 tip on ESPN and Disney+. The Lakers are 12-point favorites. On the other side of that trade, Mavericks forward center Anthony Davis will miss multiple weeks due to a left adductor strain suffered Saturday against the Rockets. And Commissioner Adam Silver announced today Hawks guard Trae Young will replace the injured Giannis Antetokounmpo in this weekend's All-Star game. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rest at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Slam Dunk in Vegas is our nationwide contest for a chance to have the ultimate tournament viewing experience with 3 of your friends. More info at 1080thefan.com. Danny Meringue.
I found 2 empty bottles of a particularly decent Chateau Noir Bordeaux 57 in your rubbish.
Dusty Hera.
You went through my garbage?
This is Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app.
I find it particularly offensive that you use them to wash down an order from something called Macho Taco.
And Portland's sports leader, 1080.
I would never drink a Bordeaux with a Macho Taco.
The Fan.
It was a burrito machissimo.
Hour number 3 here on a Super Bowl Monday on Danny and Dusty, whether you're listening on 1080 AM The Fan or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan or youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you, love you. Thank you for hanging out with us on this wonderful, wonderful Super Bowl Monday. And it's a reminder, there's still time to enter daily for the Slam Dunk in Vegas contest. Entry is easy. Just download the free Odyssey app, log in, listen to 1080 The Fan or any participating station. Listen each day for a minimum of 1 hour for your daily entry. What do you get if you win? Well, the winner of this national contest will receive a travel for 4, that's the winner and 3 guests, and a 5-night hotel stay at Circa Resort and Casino. Circa rules. The best
is awesome
sports book viewing. If you are a degenerate in Las Vegas and you love sports and you're going to take a trip down there, Circa is amazing.
You can be by the pool and watch all the games.
Oh, God. Las Vegas is premium sports viewing destination and the home of the biggest March hoops party at Stadium Swim. Plus $5,000 for each of you to fund the ultimate viewing experience for the first 2 rounds of the College Basketball Championships. Come back each a day and listen for another hour to add another chance to win. For more info, go to 1080thefan.com. Ooh. All right. It's a thing that everybody wants to talk about, and that's the legacy plays. People say, I don't want to talk about legacy, and then it's the first thing everybody actually wants to talk about when you follow the end of a season, because end of season culminates in what ultimately turns into legacy. And I think there's quite a few legacies that took some pretty serious twists and turns on both sides. You've got Mahomes and Reed falling short here. And there was a lot of talk about Patrick Mahomes on his way to being the greatest quarterback of all time, but also Andy Reid being elevated into perhaps, if not the greatest, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And on the flip side, the ascension of Jalen Hurts and him defeating doubters, and Nick Sirianni riding the ship that was very similar to Ryan Day, where at one point in this season, people were calling for Nick Sirianni's job.
Yeah, at the very beginning of the year, Eagles fans were done with him after the way that 2023 ended. 2024 was kind of that make it or break it year for Nick Sirianni, and after week 2, even people were like, "Oh God, here we go again." Because remember, they lose to the Falcons early in the year. Like, see, he doesn't have it. He's not it. All the Eagles did was just go on a run where they did not lose a game the rest of the year after week 2, where they were at full strength, and they dominated in the playoffs. Think about that. I mentioned this earlier. 240 minutes of game time in the NFL postseason. They trailed for 5 minutes and 42 seconds. That's crazy. They absolutely beat the brakes off of teams left and right, and including the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. And like for Patrick Mahomes, like he's going to be at the brunt of it because everybody heading into this game was, all right, it's a three-peat. You know, is he going to be pushing Tom Brady for the greatest quarterback of all time? The fact of the matter is that Patrick Mahomes still has one of the greatest starts to an NFL career ever.
Hands down.
Full stop. He has. But I find it amusing that we criticize him because, guy isn't even the best of all time. It's like, come on. What he's been able to do is absolutely insane. He's 3-2 in Super Bowls. He's been to 5 Super Bowls. He's not even 30 years old yet. And that
Washed.
in and of itself is impressive. Now, the all-time greats, which is what he's going to be compared to moving forward, that being, remember when Tom Brady, it was like, well, Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. Yeah, well, Tom Brady went, and everyone's like, dude, but Brady's been to 10, right? Like, at the time, it was like, Brady's been to 7 of them. Like, you're going to criticize a guy for making it to 7 Super Bowls and not winning all of them?
It's the LeBron-Michael Jordan debate about Michael Jordan never lost in the finals. Like, LeBron went to 8 straight!
Yeah. It's like, he got there. He won the AFC Championship game in years that Joe Montana didn't win as many conference championships.
Again, Patrick Mahomes, 17-4 in the playoffs with 2 Super Bowl losses, 2 AFC title game losses. He has not lost outside of the final 2 weeks of the playoffs.
Incredible. And look, here's the hard part for Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward. It is that you are now entering, and I don't think it can be ignored, phase 2 of your dynasty, right? And for Brady and Belichick, it took them a decade to win another Super Bowl. I mean, they went 10 years in between Super Bowls. And to have a dynasty that has staying power, you've got to be able to push through that second phase of, all right, we have our rings. We know what it takes to get there. But then how do you get to that back half where for Brady and Belichick, it was winning 3 more, right? For Mahomes and Reid, it's how do they continue to climb? And I don't think that in Patrick Mahomes' legacy, this will be defining, but it's not great the fact that he's been to 5 Super Bowls and he's won 3 of them. His point differential in the Super Bowl is -23 total. In 5 Super Bowls, the Chiefs have been outscored by 23 points because he's lost by 22 and he's lost by 18 in Super Bowl games.
It's a big 40 piece right there. Those are tough to overcome.
Yeah.
But it also shows you how close the other games have been.
And winning in the margins is so damn hard. And that was the thing, like with Brady, it was every single one of those games came down to the end, wins and losses, right? Every single one, like except for the Chiefs Super Bowl. They were all games that were decided in the fourth quarter in crunch time. And it took the Philly special to break the Patriots. I think that was Brady's biggest loss, and it was a 10-point loss to the Eagles. But he had one of those games, but it came down to a trick play, and that's what kind of broke their back, right? They were still in it until the final, 5 minutes of that football game.
A play that lives on forever in infamy in Philadelphia.
As it should.
Like it's that
as it should.
It's that important.
But I think this game truly is legacy defining for Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Think of like Sirianni, not just a guy that people thought, in his own fan base were calling for his head. He was the buffoon that wins on talent alone and not coaching. You cannot tell me that Super Bowl, the way that it played out, this entire season, the way that it played out, going through 4 playoff games and trailing for less than 6 minutes of 4 playoff games combined, that coaching didn't matter. Like he has an incredibly talented roster, but the way that they dismantled teams, the way that they played, that is a well-coached team.
Machine.
And that bucks a massive knock against Nick Sirianni. Very similar to Ryan Day, as you said. Like all Sirianni's done is won. Like he wins a S-ton in the hardest league to win.
Do you see a potential world where Sirianni gets Doug Peterson?
After winning a Super Bowl,
does he have enough equity now to push forward for a couple of years?
Maybe, but at the same time, like, goodness gracious, what he has done as a head coach, it's ridiculously impressive.
It is, but also we've seen this team, this ownership, this front office, pull the ripcord after a season.
Yeah, I'm going to look this up. Peterson went. His first year was 7-9.
Okay.
Okay, then they won the Super Bowl, lost in the divisional round, went 9-7, went 9-7, lost in the wild card round, and then went 4-11. Okay, Sirianni went 9-8 his first year, coming off of that 4-11 year. Okay, by Peterson, went 9-8, and then lost in the Super Bowl after going 14-3. Then goes 11-6, and then goes 14-3 and wins the Super Bowl again.
There's a difference.
Those resumes are pretty. There's a stark contrast there with how those things went.
Directly correlates with the particular quarterback.
But he went 14-3, 11-6, 14-3. It's really damn
I'm eating all my crow on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's probably where we need to go next. Is we've tap danced on the Chiefs' grave. Probably need to sing the praises of the Philadelphia Eagles.
We did in the first hour.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I think Jalen Hurts, he is the biggest legacy builder of the Super Bowl 59. And I don't think it's particularly close. It as good as Sirianni is as a coach, I think we can acknowledge he's been a head coach for 4 years. He's gone to the Super Bowl twice and won one. Yeah, he is really damn good. For Jalen Hurts, that is as Steve Young would say, a gorilla off his back.
Yeah. No, it 100% was. And so coming up next, though, I do want to get some sound from Super Bowl Sunday following the game from Reed and Mahomes, just talking about just how good this Eagles team was. Coming up next here on Danny Dustin, Fan. waxed poetically about just how good the Philadelphia Eagles were in Super Bowl licks.
Yeah.
But we're two radio guys. How about we hear from the probably two most key important figures on the Kansas City Chiefs at just how dominant that game was for them. First, from Andy Reid.
Yeah, listen, they all hurt. You get this far. You battled your tail off to get this far. Very, very hard to do. And, it's we spent a lot of time doing this. And it's not a hobby, right? So we're in it the whole way. And spent a lot of hours doing it as players, as coaches. So it's going to hurt. They all hurt when you get to this level and these things happen. Three-peat aside or any of that stuff, that you get this far and you don't play as well as you want to, it hurts.
Yeah, I bet it's easier to get blown out in that game than it is to
lose the nail
crippling.
biter.
Yeah, like David Tyree.
Look,
like,
I mentioned this during the game.
You're just like, damn, there's nothing you could do here.
I haven't seen and everybody wants to call out the Seattle-Denver Super Bowl. That was different. That was just an overwhelming abuse of power. This game to me felt like Raiders-Bucks. When Gruden was on the other sideline and he was so deep in the Raiders' kitchen that he was taunting them. It felt like Fangio was doing that to the Chiefs.
Yeah, but he wasn't doing anything special.
But that's kind of what I mean. Like,
it was
as much as the Eagles guessed right in all the preparation on their offensive side, the Chiefs got it wrong.
I know.
Every single time, like Fangio was in their huddle, which with Gruden, he quite literally knew the calls.
Yeah, it was to see. In one thing that I don't know, I will never get the answer to this. Why Kansas City was just like, we're not going to try to run the ball. I will never understand.
Even early on, even when it's going a little sideways, just
to calm the nerves. But then again, like you look at it, and after Mahomes threw his first interception, they tried to run the football twice, and it just went nowhere.
Stuffed.
And they were just manhandled up front. And I think that's the thing is that, like, Fangio's like, dude, I can do whatever the hell I want. And he did. And I just have better players than you right now. Up front, my guys are better. And they were.
Which
like in
you
spades.
don't see in the NFL all that often, especially in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And Patrick Mahomes, well, he talked about just how ridiculous that Eagles defense was.
Yeah, I think just when defenses are going to play the shell coverage and stay back and play man on third down, I can't make bad plays worse. And I think that's something that you saw today is that there was times when guys aren't open and I need to throw the ball away or check it down and let other guys make plays happen. Sometimes I get in where I want to make a big play to kind of spark us, and that's something that I've dealt with my entire career. And if I don't show that I will take what's there in the game, the defenses are going to stay in the coverages that they're in. And I think they only blitzed like one time this entire game today. So they were going to make me be a fundamental quarterback from the pocket and take what's there, and that stuff I have to get better at. No, not really. I mean, it's just the pressure of the Super Bowl. There's always pressure, and you have to find ways to deal with that and find ways to respond to that. And we've had good games, and we've had games like this now, and we'll have to find ways to respond to this adversity. And like I said, hopefully it'll motivate these guys, especially myself, to be even better. And it's a short off season. We have a lot of guys come back. We'll have some guys that won't, but it's a short off season, and we have to get better, and so that hopefully we get this opportunity again that we can go out there and capitalize on it.
A lot of quarterback speak there, and taking it on the chin. And I need to do this. I need to do this. It wasn't we. You got
he had every right to point the finger, but he didn't.
He didn't,
and he's not going to.
No,
and
but
that's why, like, Patrick Mahomes haters, like, same thing with Jalen Hurts. Like, Jalen Hurts had all these haters because he wasn't making all of the throws. Well, it's only part of it. Like, in Patrick Mahomes, it wasn't just the blocking. It was DeAndre Hopkins dropping the football, right? It was Travis Kelce finally looking like age was catching up to him, where he wasn't making the plays and they didn't look like they were on the same page. There was a couple of plays where it looked like, Mahomes was anticipating Kelce to throttle down, and he just kept going, just trying to carry through, and that's against man coverage, right? You want to run through And Mahomes was like, dude, they're in front of you. You've got to throttle down. I'm going to throw it behind you.
The margins.
Them being on the same page where it was like they know what each other were thinking, that has been the beauty of Mahomes and Kelsey. That was not there last night.
No, and the part of this that is interesting, you know, we talk about the construction of teams and particularly with the Eagles throughout the show so far today. The construction of the Chiefs, like the thing that we've talked about all season long, this is not something new, was how different this version of the Chiefs was and how it was going to stack up against this Eagles team. And I am not going to pronounce the Chiefs dead by any shape, form, matter, anything along those lines. But when you lose like this, and yes, you went up against a team that was just better than you. But how did the Chiefs get better now? Because they are reaching that point that we saw with the Brady run where there's a 10-year gap where Mahomes is making a lot of money. And as good as Gray is as a second tight end, that's not Travis Kelce. Yep. What happens when he goes away? Xavier Worthy had himself a hell of a game, and maybe he ends up being a guy who's very important for them going forward. But they're getting older. They don't have a ton of money. They've been great at the draft recently with their limited selections. But you wonder, is this that dip for the Chiefs just because of how long this run has been strung out for?
They're in a really tough spot because they have guys that are extension eligible are Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis, Joe Thuney. Those three guys, you're going to have to pay money to keep them around. This is the hard part, right? Where those hard decisions are going to be made, because you also have free agents in Nick Bolton, Trey Smith, Justin Reed, Charles Omenihu, Marquise Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins. Like, they've got really tough decisions. And this is where it comes down to, all right, Mahomes has always said this, and what I love about Mahomes, like, his deal is more team-friendly than anybody gives it credit for.
But it's still a lot of money.
Because it was a $500 million deal, because of a 10-year deal. He's always said, I will rework it so we always are in a window. And to the extent that he does that, that's going to be the fascinating part, because you can wiggle that money around and you can try to keep every single guy. But where do you allocate those funds? Because there's a lot of them that need to come up, right? Mm-hmm. Karlaftis and McDuffie are two huge pieces. Mm-hmm. And that's where there's a lot of quarterbacks that say they want to do it, and then it's like, well, this doesn't directly benefit me. Aaron Rodgers. No. Okay. I'll do it to keep a receiver, but are you going to do it to keep McDuffie and Karlaftis? I think Mahomes will. Like, he has given zero indication that he won't give it to anybody that will help them win a Super Bowl. Them, not him. So I think that there's a big difference there with what Mahomes is willing to do and how he's willing to operate.
Yeah, when he's making $90 million in dead cap in 5 years.
Yeah, but that's the pence that you pay for a dynasty to keep.
No, for sure.
Around,
100%.
right?
I mean, trust me, I get it, 100%. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they do, because when you get beat like this, there's a soul searching that happens. It's because this wasn't I mean, not to throw you guys under the bus down at Oregon, but after that game, that was the same kind of situation. Like, when a butt kicking is that severe, you start looking around and going,
you look in the mirror and you go, oh,
what matters to us?
Yeah. And it's easier to do in college, where you get to
cycle guys
recruiting and you got the transfer portal and you can go through that. In the NFL, where you have a salary cap and you're shoved down at the bottom of the NFL draft and you're picking 31st now, it's a lot harder. The thing that I will be keeping an eye on, though, is Patrick Mahomes is still 29. Right? He's not yet 30 years old yet. One thing that makes him so special is his mobility and his ability to escape. It isn't with just raw speed and
it's
athleticism, but what happens when that starts slowing down a little bit?
The magician of it.
You need more and more guys up front, which takes more money up front as that protection.
And the weapons become more valuable, as how quickly they can get free.
Because he makes some of the most ridiculous throws, like the off platform.
Hell, the shovel pass that he made
falling.
Was that to Kelsey?
Yeah.
I mean,
and that may stay with him no matter what, just because that's a flick. But like the falling forward Superman throws that he tried one yesterday as well. It's like, I ain't gonna keep up forever.
No.
And that what happens when that little piece of magic starts going away, that has been so special for the Chiefs. He's got years for that to happen, but this is where you got to start worrying about that is now before some of those skills diminish. You have to make sure the roster is around him that will make him a guy that he doesn't need to be that guy anymore.
It's going to be interesting to see, because the one thing about the NFL, season may be over, combine's in 2 weeks.
You're damn right.
Hey, underwear Olympics, baby.
Yep.
Let's get ready. All right, coming up next, we're going to pivot away from the Super Bowl. We're going to talk a little bit of basketball because the Portland Trailblazers did win, and the streak came to an end. We'll dive into that more, but here is the big kahuna himself, the Sports Center Update.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, after seeing their 6-game win streak ended in Minneapolis on Saturday, the Blazers now in Denver for the final 2 games before the All-Star break. 6 o'clock tip on K2 2.2 on your antenna or Xfinity Channel 302. Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams III, Chris Murray, all questionable. The Blazers are 9.5-point underdogs. The Luka Doncic Lakers era expected to begin tonight in Los Angeles as they host the Jazz. 7:30 tip on ESPN and Disney+. The Lakers are 12-point favorites. On the other side of that trade, Mavericks forward center Anthony Davis will miss multiple weeks due to a left adductor strain suffered Saturday against the Rockets. And Commissioner Adam Silver announced today Hawks guard Trae Young will replace the injured Giannis Antetokounmpo in this weekend's All-Star game. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Did you score a smart speaker over the holidays? Just ask it to play 1080 The Fan.
Portland Trailblazers did indeed play basketball this weekend. Gets covered up by
three quarters.
Yeah, for 3 quarters, it did indeed happen. They take on the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota at Target Center, and the Minnesota Timberwolves were shorthanded. Ant Edwards, off of back-to-back 40 pieces, was about as hot as he could be. It seemed like a bit of a pre-planned rest situation with so many games coming fast and furious. He was out with a minor injury, as was Mike Conley, who he's basically DNP old.
DNP old.
It happens. They're just trying to get Mike a little bit of rest. But the Timberwolves not short on players, as you had basically a career night from Jaden McDaniels, going 12 of 17 from 3. 30 points, 10 boards, while also being a hell of a defender. And
12 of 17 from 3?
I'm sorry, 12 of 17 from the field.
It's like, no. I don't remember that, but I remember he was really good.
He only took 1 3, and that's actually been the knock on
Yeah.
McDaniels, is after he got his $125 million contract, which everybody kind of called a steal because he shot basically 40% from 3.
Yeah,
he hasn't been able to, he can't hit a 3 to save his life.
Yeah.
But if you're getting to the rim over and over again, which at 6'10" and rangy, he can do, especially when you get out in transition, because you turn the ball over 17 freaking times. That'll happen. Now, the Blazers started out first quarter down 24-22. Bit of a rock fight.
I thought they were going to win after the second quarter.
Which they had 38 points in the second quarter to the Timberwolves 23. They scored 38 points the rest of the game, including a 14-point fourth quarter in which the Timberwolves score 38. The Portland Trailblazers in the fourth quarter go 3 of 22, including 1 of 13 from 3. Well, now, a couple of those threes were like, let's try and get a 5-pointer. There's some desperation certainly happening. But, boy, one thing we didn't talk about a ton over this 10 out of 11 games, Dusty, as good as they were defensively, and they were incredible, everyone on the whole freaking team shot the lights out for two straight weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 straight weeks.
And that was, one of those things that when we talked about the sustainability of this, not necessarily going to happen. But look, taking the show on the road, too, is another big one. During that streak, they played a lot of games at home.
With one loss coming to OKC. Otherwise, they went 6-1 on that homestand.
Now you're playing really good teams on the road, and it continues tonight because you got the Denver Nuggets tonight in one of these baseball series where you play Denver 2 times at elevation. The good news is that they didn't come back home after going to Minnesota, right?
They dipped out immediately because a large portion of the Trailblazers is from Denver.
Yeah.
Joe Cronin lives there. Chauncey Billups lives there. Jabari Walker was there. Like, you go up and down the roster, there's a lot of players. Hell, their VP of PR for Son Gethers is from Denver. So they tried to get to Denver so they could get settled in, number one, deal with the elevation adjustment, get there as quick as you can. Number 2, be at home to watch the Super Bowl.
Sure. Yeah, the important things, like being home to watch the Super Bowl, damn it.
It does matter. You don't want to who wants to watch it in the hotel?
Nobody.
If you get a chance to go home, have a little Super Bowl party at your own house, sit in your own chair.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah. That is, I have a feeling this may be.
I think this is going to be a tough game tonight.
This could be a rough one.
They are 9.5-point dogs. Okay, just to give a
9.5?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Still not betting it.
No, God, no, I wouldn't touch it. Just to kind of point out.
Denver, by the way, hottest team in the NBA.
They are. They've won 7 straight. Which if the Blazers won, you would have had the 2 hottest teams in the NBA facing off, which would have been kind of cool. But over the last 12 games, so this factors in even the abysmal shooting from Saturday's game. The Trailblazers are right now, Anthony Simons is over the last 12 shooting 42% from 3. Denny Avdia shooting 47% from the field. Shaedon Sharpe shooting 43% from the field. Jeremy Grant shooting 34% from 3 because that took a crater. Scoot Henderson shooting 47% from the field and 41% from 3. Toumani Camara shooting 54% from the field and 46% from 3. So you go up and down this list. The only guy who's had any kind of drop is Denny Avdia, who is shooting 29% from 3. And this happened 3 games ago. I mentioned it to you, and we never talked about it on air, that coming into that show that day, was Denny Avdia fell and landed on his hand, and he got up and he flexed his hand basically the rest of the game. And he didn't have an injury designation going into the next game. I'm like, oh, it must be okay. The next game, he had a right hand injury on that, and it's impacting him. You can see him when he navigates screens. You can see him when he drives, and you can see him wincing quite often. I think you might end up seeing him get shut down. I'm not blaming the loss on that.
Tank back on.
But he picks up a knock. Rob Williams picks up a knock in Minnesota. His right knee, which is a surgical repair. Well, they're both surgical repair. His more recently repaired one. I've been told that he's questionable tonight. We're not getting a PDF. Thank God. So I think it was more precautionary. He felt a little bit of a...
PDF means a injury press release.
Yes. Anytime I see an email from the Trailblazers and a PDF attached, I'm just sitting there going, why? I had a lot of PDFs last year.
Well, a lot of injuries. All right, so Tank could be on after the next 2 games.
Look, Joe Cronin in that press conference said, I'm not going to take it away from him, the opportunity to chase the play-in. And this is not me being happy about it. Like, it's one loss.
Mm-hmm.
But if all of a sudden they do lose 3 in a row, you start kind of going back to you're not taking anything away from anybody.
Yeah.
But there's opportunities to make a course correction. But on the flip side of that, the Dallas Mavericks are now going to be without Anthony Davis for probably a month.
Dude,
maybe longer.
He played lights out in
for
his
3
debut.
quarters.
His debut on Saturday.
17 and 3 in 3 quarters.
And what we ended up seeing from the NBA was some just dirty work.
Oh God!
Because
on both
on
counts.
Super Bowl Sunday, the Dallas Mavericks are like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna slide in after immediately following the game. Anthony Davis like, yeah, not a big deal. Felt like a little twinge in my groin, not too bad. They're like, yeah, this is gonna be fine. Super Bowl Sunday, they drop. Oh, by the way, he's gonna miss several weeks. That's going to get buried, and it did.
Mm-hmm.
And then the worst one, even worse than the Anthony Davis one, is the Philadelphia 76ers.
And it wasn't even the 76ers who dropped it. It was Joel Embiid himself.
They say he's going to need surgery on Super Bowl Sunday. They're like, yeah, this is going to be another lengthy recovery and a major surgery in the offseason.
Yeah. Kyle Neubeck of PHLY, Philly, their Philly affiliate up there, got Joel Embiid on record saying that the only way I'm going to be able to address this is to have surgery and fully correct it, which means that there was an injury suffered, which the 76ers have never and will not acknowledge. That it was just, remember, the thing that they kept saying, knee inflammation, knee inflammation. And they went out of their way to say a new injury was not suffered.
It's okay. The Birds won the Super Bowl. Nobody cares anymore.
If you didn't think that that's exactly when they wanted to slide that under, which is also probably why you didn't get an official release from the 76ers, because the owner of the 76ers owns the Washington Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the 76ers did not put out a single piece of social media supporting the Philadelphia Eagles?
Congratulating them for making the Super Bowl. Yep. Did they put one out for winning the Super Bowl, though?
I have not seen one.
Okay.
If they did, I did not see it.
Well, more dirty work, too, in the NBA, as it was rather, they did. Congratulations for winning the Super Bowl.
Okay, so they did get out of the pettiness for just a little bit.
Yeah, but I can see why they didn't congratulate him for beating the owner's
team
in the conference championship game. The other piece of dirty work, the NBA was like, you know what? We see you, Mavs. We see you, 76ers. Let's just go ahead and torpedo the Lakers trade. The Lakers trade was rescinded. That wasn't the NBA's fault. That was Mark Williams ended up failing his physical as part of the 76er or the Charlotte Hornets Lakers trade. So Dalton Connect now is having to rejoin the Los Angeles Lakers. And they're like, my bad. We didn't really mean to trade you. You're back here and no Mark Williams.
I mean, the way that has gone out, the Charlotte Hornets have to do the Charlotte Hornets have to do a much better job of controlling the message, because everything that leaked out, Dave McMenamin, who's embedded in LA, Shams, was all pro Laker. And when it first got out, I immediately started texting everybody I knew in LA. How bad was the physical? And every single response I got, he goes, he failed.
Yeah, dude.
And then you get the report out. He failed his physical, but it wasn't because of his back.
It was
and it was specific.
Multiple red flags.
And what the underlying assumption is that the Hornets did not disclose.
Yeah.
Which is a very easy way to scuttle a trade. This is some breaking news, and this actually went away that I did not think it was going to go. Shams Charania is now reporting that arbitrators have ruled in the Minnesota Timberwolves governor arbitration.
Yeah.
Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry have won the arbitration, and Glenn Taylor will be out as owner of the Timberwolves, which this is pretty surprising. I talked to a lot of folks that thought this was going to go the other way.
Well, on the surface, just the way that the facts were laid out, it was, no, Glenn Taylor, he approved everything and then was like, no, I'm going to move the goalposts on what we actually agreed upon.
Because he sold it for well below market value.
Oh, he absolutely did.
He's going to lose $2 billion.
But that's the thing about it, though, is that he agreed to it. He signed all the documents too, and saying this is going to be the purchase price, and then had to go, no, they didn't give us our first payment on time, which
technically they did not.
Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez were like, wait a minute, you kind of changed the goalposts on that one too, and he made it a hard date, and apparently they had the funds, and they were like, here, dude, and he's like, nope, don't want it. You guys,
you passed the deadline. I mean, he tried to lawyer it up.
Yep, and guess what? A-Rod and Mark Lowry's lawyers won. That's an independent arbitrator who ruled on this.
Now, it still needs to be approved by the Board of Governors.
Big loss.
But they will very likely approve this. But it's also very interesting because that Karl-Anthony Towns trade was made kind of in concert with these guys, because one of the big thoughts was that neither of these guys had the cash on hand to be able to afford the luxury tax payment that was going to be incoming with Karl-Anthony Towns on their books.
Yeah.
And so that's like when we start talking about where this money is going and maybe a mild factor in like why the Luka Doncic trade happened, these NBA contracts, because they're fully guaranteed and what they mean kind of going forward and the cash on hand that you have to have, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
When somebody starts making $100 million a year, and it's not, you need to put that in escrow. You need to write that check every year. It's a big deal. So this is going to be something to monitor. Coming up next with a nice little bow on today's show, we'll take a look at the Trailblazers trying to get one last game against one of two at least against the Denver Nuggets here in Dan and Dusty, 10 The Fan. Portland Trailblazers take on the Denver Nuggets tonight in a baseball series, one of two in Denver before going into the All-Star break. Even after a disappointing loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, what do you want to see from this team, Dusty, closing out this season or closing out this period before the All-Star break? Is there anything that changes your mind about how you feel about them, depending on how these games go, or like kind of where the path that you want to see them take?
No, I mean, I think that, like, on the surface, you obviously don't want to continue to win too many games, but you want to see the development in the young guys. I mean, you mentioned everybody who's shooting lights out over that 12-game stretch. Well, you would like to see the development of the young guys continue and seeing them play more comfortably. And if they lose tonight and they lose again to Denver in their second against the Nuggets, then I think I would start to side with, all right, let's start seeing more of the young guys play, right? I think that we only have a couple more days here, and then it's boom, All-Star break. We got the dunk contest, three-point contest, All-Star weekend coming up this weekend.
And you have Luka and the Lakers first game out of the chute.
Yeah, coming back at post All-Star
February
break.
20th.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is where you just want to go, all right, let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's see where they start shutting guys.
If they lose three in a row,
and
that kind of like feel like it's the cover that's necessary for you.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. In there, it's against three good playoff caliber teams, and you go, look, it was a great run. We let the guys play. We let them grow. We let young guys play alongside veterans. Then the back half of this thing, which isn't even the half, it's like the back third of the season.
27 games.
Then you sit there and you say, let them go out and figure it out themselves with the young bucks. Do what the Blazers have been doing, which is keep an old active, right? But we're going to have stretches of, we're going to shut down DA for a while, then we're going to shut down Ant for a while,
honestly,
Jeremy for a while.
I think that's the first one.
Is DA?
Not necessarily he's the first one to get shut down, but he is the one, if they shut anybody down, that makes the biggest swing.
Yep.
Because
no
the
doubt about
difference between, and this isn't a shot at Donovan Clingan, he's just not ready to be a starting caliber center in the NBA. And for all of DA's warts and wants and all the things that kind of come with him, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
For 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And you see what that level of production and consistency on the defensive end, the baseline it gives you. So if you make that move, it'll steer him down a particular path.
The Eagles have announced when their victory parade will be.
City of Brotherly Love is going to do it on the loveliest of days.
Look, they're going to end relationships left and right based on the fact that got to celebrate the birds with the boys. They're doing it on Valentine's Day. So you were going to have relationships, which, if we're being quite honest, they were going to be not lasting anyways.
Hey, the best relationships might come out of the one that you do it together with.
You're damn right. Grandma, Grandpa, where'd you guys meet? The Birds won the Super Bowl, and we met at the parade on Valentine's Day.
I caught her when she fell off a light pole.
Yeah, it was all greased up. True love, that's where it started.
Greasing up the pole.
But you are going to have a lot of relationships end because old homeboy comes back, and he's a little sauced up from hanging with the boys, celebrating the Birds. Too drunk for Valentine's Day. Up next, you got 4 hours of power. Their mouths to your ears is Primetime with Isaac and Souk right here on The Fan.
Bye.
Smiles and glory holes.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Primetime with Isaac and Souk.
I think the crowd shots when BYU is losing in Provo, the pouty Mormon face shots, they are a product of this was